Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Phil Warman. I'm the Group Training Manager here at GL Assessment. Over the next half an hour or so, I want to take you through this development of the baseline assessment that we've got here at GL Assessment. I'm going to start off really by a little bit of context, if I may. It seems a long time ago now. The rate of change in education at the moment is astounding, but back in March 2014 there was an announcement from the Department of Education that there was going to be a new development of a baseline assessment at the start of reception. And since then we've been working on producing such an assessment and making sure that it fits government requirements, of course, as a minimum requirement, but also trying to make sure that it is the kind of assessment that is useful to teachers and primarily useful for the pupils themselves in looking at their development, what they can and can't do, and working with them to look at those areas. Its main use, I would say, in schools is part of the accountability measures. In terms of primary baseline measurement for Key Stage 2, there will be two baseline measurements, two floor standards as it were, and one will be based around progress and one around attainment. Now we know a little bit more probably about the attainment standard, requiring 85% of students to go through a barrier of what was on the old system a 4B in English and Maths. Against that they will also sit a progress standard. And that progress standard will be a measurement from this baseline measurement up to the end of Key Stage 2. And I think it's very important that if we don't want to be held just to an attainment measure, that we actually look at this progress measure alongside. And whether we feel that the attainment measure is for us or not, simply using a progress measure, a baseline measure in the start of reception, is going to allow us the earliest look and the earliest possible intervention to look at what children can and can't do. If I just move on to the next slide. What we've done here, as I've said, is the minimum requirement is to work for the government's requirements, but we've tried to do a lot more. It is a fully standardized assessment. It's one that we hope will be a new innovative way of working with children, especially for us here at GL, and that is a two-tablet delivery, one tablet for the teacher and one for the pupil. And they're linked together, they're synced together via the Wi-Fi, which allows the pupil pad to be used to record by touching it the various responses, and the teacher one to actually record verbal responses and to actually control the pace of the assessment. Of course it covers literacy, language and mathematics, what was the core of the numeracy and communications part of the early years foundation stage. Okay, what I'd like to do is actually show a short demonstration of this actually working. So to do that, I'm aided by Vicky, who's going to actually work the ICT, as it were, and then we'll actually look at the two tablets side to side in going through a short demonstration of the assessment. Thanks very much, Vicky. So what you see on your screen is the two tablets that I have in front of me reflected up onto the screen. Now, I'm working the pad to my right here, that's the teacher one. So on the right hand side of your screen it should say connected to demo candidate on demo test at the top. Of course in reality it would actually be connected to the student that we'd set it up for in the first place. You saw when I swiped, but you'll see it again in action. The left hand, the pupil one, is where the responses are made, and there the actual moving on of slides, as you can see, can't be done. It's all controlled, slaved from the teacher tablet, which is in control. So, see. Okay, so in this one, we actually not got the sound on some of these demo items, so I'll actually tell you what it is said. And in this question it is point to cheese drinking. So I have the pictures on both tablets, but the student, the pupil, has just the one with the pictures of the children. Then there they make their choice. Their choice is shown on their tablet and it's reflected on the teacher one as well. And it's the teacher who decides to move on to the next question. So in this one, you can see on the teacher pad there are two little buttons in the top right hand corner. One says P, one says Q. P1 is a prompt. It actually describes the context of the question and it speaks this out loud. And then the Q1 is where we actually touch that one to actually ask the specific question that we're asking the pupil to respond to. Okay? It's all via a soundtrack because it's very important that we do this in a standardized way, especially when we're dealing with phonics as well later in the assessment. So this question would be, look, the plates are dirty. Look, the man is washing the plates. Look, the plates are clean. And that will all be under the prompt button. And then the question is, what did the man do to the plates? And then we're asking for a response from the pupil, and then we judge that as correct or incorrect. That correct or incorrect box only appears on the teacher's tablet. Moving it through, this is one where we actually have to gesture here, and the question is, well, we're gesturing the pencil at the bottom of the screen initially. This pencil is short, this pencil is long, and the top one, this pencil is even. And again, it's a verbal response. We judge it to be correct or incorrect and move on. So we've just had a few sample questions there. The actual number of questions is longer than that. In this section, the more phonetics section, we've got this first one, which is, the sound up, yeah, okay.
I'm going to show you some pictures. I would like to see if you can say the names of the pictures. Here is a seesaw. Can you say seesaw?
So we'd wait there for the people to actually say seesaw. This one, you can see in the corner of the teacher's tablet, has a little mortarboard icon. This is actually a practice or teaching item. So here that we do allow a little bit more digression from that standard soundtrack. So if the student, for instance, didn't make any response at this point, you could play it again. You could say what we were trying to do, but only on those that are practice or training items. So one more time with the prompt.
I am going to show you some pictures. I would like to see if you can say the names of the pictures. Here is a seesaw. Can you say seesaw?
So the pupil says seesaw, and then the question.
Say it again, but don't say saw.
Okay. This is a similar one. This is not a teaching item. You can see the mortarboard's gone, and we've got the space for recording of the correct and incorrect. And this one is, I think, starfish, and then again, don't say fish. These are slightly different. I can play it for you, and then you'll know exactly what it is.
Let's try something different. Can you say sheep?
So again, we'd wait for them to say sheep, then the question.
Say it again, without the...
Okay, that's quite hard to hear maybe on this computer system, but via the WebEx, but that's quite clear here, and it's about deleting various sounds from the word. Okay, this one we've got sound not on, I believe, so this one is say boat, and then say it again without the t. Okay. Similar item with this one. I can play it for you then.
Say bed.
Sound bad.
Say it again without the...
And say it again without the but. And parrot similarly. And so let's look at the next section. Now, on the teacher version, You can see the mortarboard, it's a practice question, but you can also see the word that we're actually using. You can see the prompt and the question keys. They're not on the pupil version. It's just this ear image, just as a reminder that they should be listening.
Say rub. Now tell me the first sound it makes.
So these are initial sounds. And here we've got them. Now tell me the first sound it makes.
Say duck. Now tell me the last sound it makes.
So the final sound. Now tell me this is bath. Now tell me the first sound it makes. I think I've missed one out. How have I managed to move one out? Yeah, that's one. I haven't. So it's bath. It is the last sound it makes. Okay. Judging whether it's correct or incorrect. So they're the communications and language, mathematics. This is this calendar shows the days in 1 month. Some of the numbers are missing. Can you tell me the numbers that are missing? Verbal response, judged to be correct or incorrect. This fisherman wants to catch 5 big fish. Can you show me 5 big fish? And the pupil tablet can show those responses as they're made. And then that would be reflected onto the other. Of course. Yeah. So let's do that. I'll choose some incorrect answers and just show that they're easily changed. Therefore, it's important that you don't actually, because the teacher's in control, you don't actually move forward until you're certain that the pupil has finished their go, as it were, finished their response. Okay? So once we're sure that that's the final answer, as it were, we can move that forward. Again, each of these sections has been considerably shortened for the demonstration. Send results, it's as quick as that. We click on that button, there's nothing else to be done. Those results, those responses, and our choosing of incorrect or incorrect are all recorded automatically, and that is stored on the system, and we can report on that in a matter of moments, and the reports are available to you to look at, including the score that's on this single scale that has to be sent to the DFE. Anyway, a bit more on that in terms of detail on the PowerPoint. So now we're going to switch back, so bear with us. We're going to give another go at changing over the system. So if I move away from the administration, I did mention about getting reports and setting them up and so on. You may be wondering what kind of system that works on. Well, if you're a current user of GL assessments, digital assessments, you'll know of the thing called TestWise, which is our assessment platform that runs all our digital assessments, and it will run within there, setting up the students and running up reports in exactly the same way as other digital assessments. If you're new to us, and you take up our baseline, you would have one of these TestWise accounts, and we would support you in using that and setting up the students. And we do have many e-resources and people on hand who can help with that. But really, it's very rarely that people need to, because it is very self-evident and intuitive. And I've pretty much covered that, really. The generation of reports is virtually straight after they've finished the assessment, and it's done within the same system. I don't want to drag you through a kind of which button does what, because there may be some amongst you who are not used to the TestWise system as yet. The reports themselves, this is just a mock-up of the reports, and this is perhaps more the most simple of the lot, showing just the basic details. I've got a slide showing, I think the next slide, showing which reports will actually be produced, but there will be an individual report, and there will be reports for teachers and the student and parents. But the list is on the next slide. On this one, it just shows that there will be a standardized score for the literacy part, language development, and there will be a standardized score for mathematics. and an overall score, standardized score. In terms of what gets reported to the DFE, that will be on its own scale. The department specified quite specifically that the scaled score that they would need to be reported in a certain format, and that you can see just underneath the little table of results there. So we will be producing standardized age scores because we think they're very, very important, and they link into our other assessments of literacy and numeracy, but there will be the single scale score that the DFE requires. Okay, I said on the next slide that they were just a bit more detail on the report. That little mock-up you saw is just one tiny part. There will be a group report for teachers, individual reports, and an Excel report. So if a school found it important to have that data that they could import into their school management system, that would be very straightforward. Something that we're doing for summer 2016 is that we're also producing as part of a package assessment that looks at the same things at the end of reception. And that way we'll be able to get a measure of progress from the government baseline, our baseline, to the end of reception. Plus, because we're going to be using those standardized scores, we'll be able to feed that data into our progress test series in English and maths and have progress data all the way through, and detailed progress data all the way through to the end of Key Stage 2. Alongside those number aspects of it, of course, we will have implications for teaching and learning from the scores that the pupils get on the various assessments. Alongside that, currently in development, but we will be seeing this alongside, is a PSED that's in development, as I've said, looking at some of those elements of the earlier foundation stage that the government seems to have decided to miss out on in terms of the baseline, but we feel it is very important that you and we don't miss out on, because it is very much about the development of the child, whether we have to do this compulsory element or not. As I say, that's under development, but I can say it's a kind of mock-up of a typical example question, and it will have audio, and it will be about kind of example you can see there, how we interact and react to others, or how we are kind of emotional intelligence to some extent. Okay. Where does it fit into our kind of assessment model? Well, whether you're new to this or not, let me just spend a moment saying for us, the whole Life Without Levels and new curriculum changes has been a chance for us to really get a grip on the kind of assessment that is done in school and to make sure that we're covering all the vital areas. It's good to see in the government materials that teacher judgment is number one on the list, and so it should be. But to support that with our kind of national benchmark assessments that give us those scores on the doors, those look at performance levels against a wider sample from outside of the school, has allowed us, as I say, to work with schools to actually come up with a model of assessment looking at all important areas. So baseline slots into our attainment area and feeds into our progress test series, and that sits alongside our look at attainment, ability rather, and potential, which is looking outside of everyday performance, and then looking at passion, attitudes, to a way a learner looks at themselves as a learner, really completes that all-round view. And I think this way really puts baseline in perspective. Yes, it's important, but it's part of something wider. It's part of looking at what's best for the student, for the pupil in front of them. I pretty much covered this earlier. We want to make the most of baseline data, so we want it to make it meaningful not only in tables of data, but useful for the pupil, and feeds into end of reception assessment and that longer term progress test series that looks not only to the end of Key Stage 2, but actually goes all the way to the end of Key Stage 3. There's not too technical information, don't be put off, just a kind of reminder what it will run on. It will run on iPads, but don't believe they're the only show in town. Android devices, I mean, you don't have to go to the expense of Apple. I think the other day my mother, in fact, bought a tablet from Tesco's, I believe. I think it's called Huddle, and that's somewhere around £150 or something. So that's and that would be fine. So don't feel that the technology will hold you back. That minimum screen resolution is readily achievable. It's nothing special. Yes, Wi-Fi, to really get the power of two tablets working together, they do sync via Wi-Fi, but actually they could, if you had any fears on the day, as it were, that your Wi-Fi wasn't up to it, they could actually be run in what we're calling manual mode, but really the power of it is in syncing them with Wi-Fi. As I said, if you want any more in terms of technical information, then there's our website that has that. So as a kind of recap, we believe that it is very fun and engaging, and that's not just a quick sound bite. If children are engaged and they find assessment fun, then you're much more likely to get an accurate measure of what they can achieve. If they're not engaged with it, then the data won't be as rich as it could be. The two-tablet administration is, I think when we developed it, was certainly unique. It's very quick. It can be completed in 25 minutes in 2 sessions. If you wanted 2 sessions, or you could have gone all the way through, but 25 minutes total. Automatic scoring and almost, I hesitate to say instant, you're always held up for that. It took 3 or 4 seconds. Virtually instantaneous reporting. And the teacher controls the pace, and there is no extra marking to be done by the teacher. Pricing. You can see the pricing there. As far as we're aware from the government, that they will be an element of funding. I have to say an element of funding because it still isn't perfectly clear from the government exactly how that funding arrangement will be made. But certainly that is the theory, and I'm guessing that kind of announcement will come with the longer-awaited announcement of approval of the actual assessment, which we believe it is soon coming, and can't be soon enough for us, really. And lastly, this has been a relatively short presentation and look at the tablet, and we don't really get much chance to actually chat through questions, but what we've arranged is a number of baseline launch seminars across the country, and hopefully on the screen you can see 4 of those with their venues. The 5th on that list we haven't confirmed as yet. The format we're hoping will be a longer presentation, but really question and answer driven, followed by tea and coffee and a chance to actually sit there with our baseline on the tablets and see it in action for yourself.